Would you risk harming wildlife to get the perfect shot? There are plenty of controversies in bird photography, the use of AI, editing your photos, and even building hides. But one debate takes the cake. Is baiting birds ethical? What is baiting? There are multiple different definitions for bird photography. Ultimately, it's defined by luring birds closer to the photographer to capture sharper, more dramatic images. At its core, baiting requires influencing a bird's behaviour by offering an incentive. There are many ways baiting is achieved. The most common way is by using food. Seeds, mealworms, even live prey are often used to attract birds into convenient locations. Mealworms are typically used to lure small birds, while live bait is commonly used for birds of prey. Secondly, we have sound-based baiting, which is the use of bird calls found online to manipulate the desired subject. Playing the call will influence the bird to believe that a mate or flock member is alerting them. Last is decoys, which involves using inanimate objects and models to trigger either curiosity or territorial instincts. Baiting can make bird photography much easier, minimising the irritating unpredictability of wildlife and offering photographers unique opportunities. For example, using live bait can showcase stunning hunting behaviours. However, these benefits raise significant questions of ethics, as it's manipulating and interfering with wildlife for the sake of a photograph. Is it acceptable to alter behaviours or put its safety in jeopardy for our own benefit? And is there any reasonable way to do this? This debate becomes even more complicated when we consider equipment like guarding feeding stations. We see them every day when we walk down the street. Most see bird feeders as a harmless way to enjoy bird watching, bringing a flurry of nature to our own back garden. Even I have multiple bird feeders in front of my garden, and often put out food on some tree stumps to help the birds with their search of food. This can become especially important when winter arrives, as it can become difficult for ground-feeding birds to hunt in the garden's hardened soil. Are bird feeders really baiting? And if so, how concerned should you be on your potentially damaging impact to wildlife? As long as you're taking good care of your feeders with regular washes and keeping them and the food dry, you haven't got too much to be concerned about. There are brilliant ways to use bird feeders without harming any visitors. We must take precaution when using feeding stations to ensure the well-being of those who use them. While we can minimise the risks, it's still important to question how our actions are affecting the wildlife around us. Now that we've explored both direct and indirect ways of baiting, let's discuss why this brings out such strong opinions. In a nutshell, it brings up conflicting values in both birdwatching and photography communities. On the one hand, baiting provides unique photographing opportunities, allowing us to capture stunning close-ups which would otherwise be very difficult. However, others like wildlife conservationists state that manipulating natural behaviours and creating potential for dependency is wrong. These concerns aren't just theoretical, they come with real, tangible consequences for wildlife. When birds begin to rely on human-provided resources, it disrupts their natural survival instincts, which can lead to severe repercussions. For example, imagine a photographer places seeds in the same spot twice a day for a week. Over time, birds will naturally be drawn to this reliable food source. However, once the photographer has gotten the shots they need and the food supply abruptly stops, the birds are left without that resource. The sudden change can cause significant stress and confusion, especially for those birds that have come to depend on that spot for food. Additionally, regular feeding stations or baiting locations can attract predators like raptors, foxes, and other animals looking to take advantage of the easy food. This creates a ripple effect on the local ecosystem as predators may start frequenting those areas, altering the natural balance of the habitats. When the food supply ends, the smaller birds that once relied on the area may stop showing up, leaving predators without a food source as well. This creates a disruption not just for the birds, but for the entire ecosystem surrounding the baiting area. In addition to disrupting natural survival instincts, there are several other risks to wildlife that may come with baiting. One of the most concerning is the potential for disease transmission. When a birds flock to a common feeding area, they can inadvertently spread illnesses. This is particularly true in crowded bird feeders, where birds are in close contact with one another. Contaminated food or shared feeding stations can spread diseases like avian pox, salmonella, and other pathogens, which have a devastating effect on bird populations. What starts as a small number of sick birds can quickly escalate into an outbreak, affecting many species within the local area. Another significant risk is the disruption of migration patterns. Birds that become too accustomed to a consistent food source may delay or alter their migration. For example, if birds are consistently drawn to a feeding area during migration season, they might delay their journey or stop in one location for too long. This can have serious implications, especially for species that rely on the seasonal availability of resources in other areas. By interfering with their natural migratory behaviours, baiting can put birds at risk of not reaching their intended destinations, where food or breeding grounds may be waiting. Then there's the risk of attracting non-native species. When food is provided in unnatural quantities, it can draw birds in and animals that wouldn't be typically found in that area. These non-native species can then compete with native species for the limited resources, pushing out local wildlife and potentially endangering already vulnerable species. Over time, this can alter the delicate balance of local ecosystems, which we've seen with grey squirrels and red squirrels. We have discussed what to avoid when it comes to respecting wildlife on our photography outings. So are there any alternatives to baiting? What can we do that keeps wildlife content, which also guarantees an improvement in our photography? One step we can take is to enhance natural habitats to make them more appealing. Plant some native trees and flowers which provide food, shelter and nesting areas. In the UK, you can plant lavender and hawthorn to attract smaller birds. Also having many perches and twigs from all directions, giving your subject a lookout and resting area. Tree stumps with moss can be fabulous for this. You could also install a hide or natural blinds, allowing you to blend in with your environment without the birds being threatened by your presence. Finally, something that I love to do is optimising the reserves in my area. Thinking back on all the information that I have provided, the advantages, risks and alternatives, I personally believe that putting wildlife in potential danger for the sake of one good photograph is not at all worth it. When we're in nature, we're in their home rather than ours, and we must respect their ways of life without purposely disrupting their natural instincts. In all types of photography, we must draw a reasonable line between healthy observation and unnecessary intrusion. Thank you for watching this video. I've been Sydney Jones, I'm a wildlife photographer based in Norfolk. If you'd like to check out my work, you can find me on Instagram at sjj.oct. Any links will be provided in the description below. If you enjoyed this video and if it provided any decent information for you, please consider liking the video and subscribing for new content. And finally, here are some more videos for you to check out if you wish. Take care all, bye!